अब आपको सीधे लिए चलते हैं एबीपी न्यूज के सबसे बड़े मंच आइडियाज ऑफ इंडिया में।
Will it end up opening old wounds once again? We'd like to invite someone whose entire life story, in a sense, has been linked with the story of Kashmir. Please welcome on stage Omar Abdullah, Vice President, Jammu and Kashmir National Conference, my apologies, Jammu and Kashmir National Conference, and of course the former Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir, Mr. Sanghvi. Once again, it's over to you.
Welcome. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Okay. I thought we'd do this slightly differently. I can just get into a truth and reconciliation discussion with you, which I'm sure you've had many times. But I wanted to make this slightly more personal because you were there when it all happened. Did you ever think that Article 370 was going to be abrogated in this way?
No. Not until the very end of July, beginning of August. There were a lot of rumors floating around. But when credible or seemingly credible constitutional authorities sitting in Jammu and Kashmir reassure you time and again that you have nothing to worry about and that there is no threat to Jammu and Kashmir's constitutional status and that there is no move to tinker with any of the rules or laws concerning Jammu and Kashmir, then you sort of take that at face value, which is the mistake that we made. The then governor of Jammu and Kashmir, who these days is in the news for very different reasons, when we met him in the run-up to 5th August, and we point-blank asked him what's happening, he said, you guys are just rumor mongering. Aap logon ko dara rahe ho. And that there is nothing to worry about. And I assure you, as in he assures us, that there is no move to do anything to Jammu and Kashmir. Now, of course, he claims he had no idea. But I would take that with as much of a pinch of salt as I should have taken his earlier assurances.
When it happened, you were detained. Tell us about how that happened.
Well, actually, it started the night before.
Okay.
We sort of, there were, if you remember, suddenly out of the blue, they discovered a rusty old sniper rifle.
Yes.
And something they claimed to have been an explosive device, the government claimed, and said that there was some threat to the Amarnath Yatra, and they curtailed that. And then there was this sudden move to ask tourists to vacate Jammu and Kashmir. That's when we realized that something big was happening. That night, the telephones started to go off. And in Jammu and Kashmir, when telephones start going off, you know trouble has either sort of already broken out or it is not far behind. But in the past, whenever mobile phones have been shut down, fixed line BSNL phones, they have traditionally functioned. So like idiots, we were busy calling each other up and exchanging BSNL numbers and telling people, like, ye mera BSNL number hai, aap mujhe phone karna. And as if sort of the BSNL would continue to function. And we went to bed with sort of internet going down. Woke up in the morning and there was nothing. No mobile internet, no fixed line internet, and no BSNL phones. I then was told by one of the people working in my home that I was effectively under house arrest. And when I went out of the house and looked at the gates, there were these massive padlocks that had been placed on the gates of the house. And I asked my security people, I said, what is this? They said, ye aapko band kiya hai. So I said, under whose orders? They said, government. I said, what paper? I mean, show me the paperwork. They said, wo nahi hai, bas tala laga, aap baithiye. And I sat until the evening when my illegal confinement was converted into ostensibly a legal one. They used a provision for preventive detention and shifted me to a government guest house where I spent the next 8 months.
If they say preventive detention, that is supposed to be required, they're required to show that you would commit an act of violence, you would do something. What grounds did they show for your preventive detention?
That I was a threat to peace. This wasn't, I mean, they subsequently, after the expiry of 6 months of this preventive detention, they then detained me under a different law, which is called the Public Safety Act. And that made a complete mockery of it, because when they detained me under the Public Safety Act, they actually detained me for doing what nationalistic India wanted me to do. The grounds for detaining me were that I campaigned against the separatists and that I defeated Pakistan's designs by encouraging voters to come out and vote in elections. And because I was capable of defeating Pakistan's designs, I should therefore be detained under the Public Safety Act.
I'm sorry,
So-
that makes no sense.
Well,
just tell me again. They detained you under the Public Safety Act for
Because I
foiling
made-
Pakistan's designs
Yes.
and opposing separatists.
Yes,
How
I
can
was-
you even write that? How does that even make
Well,
sense?
it's in the written order. It's part of the Supreme Court's record now. I was detained by my own country for making elections in India a success. Now, you go figure how that works. That is this government's very strange sort of outlook towards Jammu and Kashmir and mainstream politicians. You can be detained under the Public Safety Act because you actively campaign against Pakistan's boycott.
When you were in detention, were you allowed access to newspapers, internet, anything?
Not for the first 5 weeks.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
And did anyone come and see you from the government?
it
Did they
took-
tell you what was happening?
It took 3 weeks for my sister to come and see me. I had occasional visits from members of the staff. I mean, lots of things happened at that time. If I'm not mistaken, I think Sushma Swaraj passed away while I was in detention, and I had no idea for days on end that something like this had happened. So there were all sorts of things that were happening that we had no idea about. I knew that about 40 odd colleagues of mine were in another government guest house, and I was trying to find out about how they were doing. But there was very little back and forth. I do distinctly remember, because in the room that I was placed in, there was a television, and there were wires for the Tata Sky box.
Yeah.
But there was no box. The box had been taken away. Mysteriously, the box reappeared on the 15th of August. Because I think they felt that I should sit and watch the Prime Minister's address from the ramparts of the Red Fort. And I was so desperate to watch something that I probably would have sat and watched that as well. Except that they forgot that you need to recharge a Tata Sky box once in a while so you can watch the channels. And so I switched on the TV, and with great expectation and hope, I switched on the box, hoping that Doordarshan would come on and I would be treated to the address to the nation. Sadly, it didn't work, and the box disappeared, and it didn't come back, I think, for a few months after that.
So, Omar, what would you do all day? You are like cut off, you know things are happening outside, you have no idea, nobody tells you anything. What was that experience like?
See, unlike my dad,
Yeah.
I'm very comfortable in my own company. My father is a very sort of social person.
Yeah,
I
gregarious, shall
think
we
in
say.
similar circumstances, my father would have flipped his lid.
Yeah.
Having spent 8 years in boarding school, I was actually sort of, I mean, it probably sounds strange, but I didn't really struggle.
Really?
I honestly didn't. I know people, I mean, connected with me, people close to me, they struggled more on my account than I did. I had a very fixed routine, and I went back almost to boarding school sort of levels. I had a fixed time to wake up, fixed time for my meals.
It's not, I have to tell you, it's not a great advertisement for Sanar to say that being in detention is like
let me put it this way. I mean, if Sanar can train you for 8 months of detention, it can train you for pretty much anything. But yeah, I had a fixed routine for my meals. I had a fixed routine for my walk in the compound, to the extent that I regulated it to the point that even how many rounds I would do clockwise or anti-clockwise of the grounds, even that was measured. So it was always 5 rounds clockwise, 5 rounds anti-clockwise. I had 5 stones that I would move from one side of the staircase to the other. So I knew that I was doing exactly 5 rounds, not 1 round more, not 1 round less. Every day I had to be measured for my blood pressure and sort of my mental health, because they wanted to ensure that I wouldn't do anything stupid, and I had no intention of doing it. But even that, I told the doctor, look, either you come at exactly 12 noon or don't bother coming at all, because this is the sort of time I fixed. And bless him, he came on time and then would share with me snippets of what was happening outside. Yeah, once I started getting books, then I had a fixed time for reading. Generally,
Would you get any books you wanted? What was, how was
yeah,
that?
I mean, in all fairness to them, I got books. Then later I was able to get sort of DVDs and movies. So I watched a whole lot of stuff that I'd already seen before.
Okay.
Such as? No complaints that way.
Such as? What do you watch?
Well, I went through the entire 10 series of Friends, beginning to end. Yeah, I allowed myself, I think, 2 episodes a day until I finished all 10 seasons. There was a whole lot of other stuff, a lot of these box sets, the whole of West Wing, because that's a show I can watch again and again. So the whole of West Wing came. There was a few other bits and bobs.
No Jailbreak or The Prisoner or anything like that?
No. I think that they would have been very sure not to send me.
Obviously, you're a very disciplined person, because you managed to cope with this by creating a discipline, a routine for yourself.
I think, again, I'm probably conditioned by boarding school and perhaps a little bit about who I am. Once I set my mind and decide that this is what I'm going to do, then that's what it is. And
you stick to it?
9 times out of 10, I'll stick to that.
Okay. Just a curious question. Did they deny you shaving foam and a razor as well?
That's the beard.
Yeah, right.
Actually, the beard became a calendar for me. Because in the beginning, I was convinced that this detention would be about a week or 10 days.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I was actually sure, because this happened on the 5th of August. I thought 15th of August will pass and they'll let us go. And when on the 15th of August, they didn't let us out, I was like, okay, now I need to figure out, I mean, I need to know for myself how long this is going.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to stop shaving. And let's see how long my beard gets. Truth be told, I did not expect it to go as long as it did. If I had known, I wouldn't have done that, because it became really unruly, very sort of difficult to manage. I don't know how people eat with such bushy mustaches, because I spent at least 15 or 20 minutes after every meal trying to clean up. So it never came back
How
again.
long did it go, finally?
I think it was
Till
probably
here,
till
right?
about here.
Seen those pictures, like people rescued from an island after a shipwreck who've not been allowed.
You've seen that Tom Hanks movie where
That's
he
right.
talks,
That's
to
exactly,
the baseball.
Yeah.
I didn't have the baseball to talk to. I did make a snowman.
Oh, really?
I did make a snowman. He didn't last as long as
Did you give the snowman a name?
He didn't last long enough for me to christen him. But I shared my gloves with him. I put a hat on him. He had buttons. He had eyes. And we had a very short conversation, but then the sun came out and he disappeared.
जैसे ही घड़ी का काटा दोपहर 2:30 पे आए, बबीता जी का दिल सास बहू साजिश के लिए मचल जाए। और ये है इनकी बहू, पूरे दिन ऑफिस की टेंशन हो जाए गॉन जब ये करें अपना फेवरेट शो फ्री टाइम पे ऑन। इनकी तरह आप भी देखें अपना फेवरेट शो अपने टाइम पर और डाउनलोड कीजिए एबीपी लाइव ऐप अपने स्मार्ट टीवी पर।
एबीपी न्यूज आपको रखे आगे।